Hello, everyone. Welcome back to hey, Prepper Geek. Nothing prepping today, but I got a little geek going on. I remember I told you guys in the video I uploaded yesterday, which for some reason the quality sucked on, and I'm really trying to figure that out because I'm recording in 1080, I'm rendering in 1080, I should be uploading in 1080, but for some reason I'm just not. Be that as it may. It's a little computer I'm building. This isn't a fancy gaming rig. This isn't anything that's gonna, knock your socks off with its performance. But it is a pretty solid performing little rig. It's actually for my father's shop. Remember I said the Andy's Auto Repair thing last time. It's his shop. That's what I'm building. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys a rundown of what I'm building and what I'm sticking it all into. So I've got my parts here. I've got my last part today. My motherboard is the last one to come in from Newegg. By the way, Newegg.com. This is the only place I order computer parts from. That's it. I love them. They're amazing. So I guess what I'll do is I'll start with the case. It's very simple. It's an MATX case. It's a Logis 6801. Actually, it's very bare bones. It doesn't have a lot. It does come with a 350 watt power supply, which in this instance for what I'm building is perfect because this thing, like I said, it's a basic bare bones rig. It's not a gaming rig. It's not a high end graphics rig. It's so my dad can run his shop. That's really what it is. So we have, in the same vein, we have an Asus AM1IA board, which is decent little board. It's Windows 8.1 ready, blah, 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 blah. Socket AM1, so it's going to hold my Athlon 5350 quad-core processor. Solid little processor, nothing too drastic. Was it 2.05 gigs with a 2 meg cache. So, like I said, not a huge graphics. Oh, chair just kind of went funky on me. Not a huge graphics or gaming computer, but there it is. It's solid. It does what he will need it to do. Got 4 gigs of G-Skill memory on it. Not even the fancy G-Skill, just G-Skill memory, and a 120 gigabyte solid state drive. This is a Corsair Force Series 3. It's actually a refurb drive. I was trying to keep price down on this. Is that everything? Oh, almost. And Asus DVD player. That's the whole rig. That's everything I got. And this is a really simple rig that honestly, like I said, I built it on a budget. I mean, I'm cheap. My dad makes me look like I just am flamboyant with my money. So this whole rig, this whole setup was about $260, I think, after tax and shipping from Newegg. Well, so really, just if you're looking for something to build for your mom to surf Facebook with so she can annoy you, this is probably the kind of rig you want to build her. It's not real fancy, not real high tech, but it's a solid build. Asus motherboard, always solid. I'm a huge AMD fan because bang for your buck wise, I mean for a quad core 2 gigahertz processor in Intel, I'm looking at $200 to $300. Maybe on the low end I can get down to 150, but $150 is more than half of the build for this whole system. So why would I do that? Pretty much, I'm going to stop recording at this point, though, I think, because I could go on and on and on and on about this, so I'm not going to do that. I am going to stop recording at this point, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to probably take some short little videos as I do things, as I'm putting things together, because the biggest one I want to do is cable management, I really think, because cable management in a small case, a micro ATX or a mini ATX case, is a real pain in the ass. So we'll probably cover that pretty thoroughly once I get everything put together. And as far as putting it together, I mean, you're plugging parts in. Honestly, it's not rocket surgery. So we'll get into that when we get there. But yeah, for now, I'll be right back. So, round 2 of this whole thing. I've got the computer together. Everything is installed where it needs to be. I wanted to show you guys what I was starting with for cable management before I actually went and did it so you guys can see the progress that was made. Now, many of you have seen a computer or two like this. You have your basic bundle of wires, since this is a non-modular built-in power supply. And then you have your front panel connectors, USB 3.0, speaker, power reset button, all that noise. Now this is what I'm working with, so there's not a whole lot of room in there, not a whole lot of options for managing cables. So, that being said, this is part 2, so I want you guys to see what it's going to look like when I'm done with this in a little bit, which might take me a while. I tend to get a little anal at this stage, so But cable management can be very important. I mean, it affects your airflow through your system. So if you're working on an air-cooled system such as this, which really only has one tiny little fan in it, it can be very important. If you're working on a bigger liquid-cooled system, it's not as important. It's more for aesthetics than anything else. But I'm pretty big on aesthetics, so, you know, be that as it may and all. I'm not going to sleeve any of this because, like I said, this isn't a real fancy build or anything else, but I'm going to try to get all this tucked in here and out of the way and looking pretty, hopefully without mangling anybody. We'll see how that goes. Once I get it done, I'll do another part. I'll show you guys what it looks like, and I'll kind of talk you guys through how I did everything and how well it hides inside the case. So for now, once again, I'll be back. All right, round 3, everybody. I've surprisingly managed to get this one pretty neat. Cable management is always very difficult in small cases because obviously it's small. You don't have as much room to put stuff. So, luckily in this one I didn't have a whole lot going in. Just a standard DVD-ROM drive and a solid-state drive for the OS. And that was really it. That was all I had going in here. Interestingly enough, it all fit wonderfully. I am missing one SATA power connector, which I'm a little weirded out by because this 350 watt power supply that this case came with, I figured was modern enough that it would have at least 2. No, it had 1 SATA and everything else was 4-pin Molex. So I'm a little confused by this. But regardless, so I need to order 1 more cable to get the DVD-ROM drive to work, and life is good. I think I can handle that. So I actually used to have some laying around, and I hadn't used them in so long I tossed them. But cable management, as I said, is an interesting thing because the backside, nobody cares about. That's the part you're never going to see. Nobody cares about that. As long as you're not in your way, as long as you can still get your panels on, everything is good. However, that is the part that everyone cares about. Which, as you can see, considering how little room I had to work with, really isn't that bad. I mean, if I'd have sleeved those cables up and stuff, it would have been right proper, I dare say, as my British friends would pick on me for. Yeah, pretty happy with it. Actually, it was surprisingly easy. Like I said, I need 1 more SATA power for the DVD-ROM drive right there. But that's not a big deal because all the other PSU wires are back in here, like tucked down in this region. So I'll be able to do the same. I've got plenty of open air down here, so I should be good to go there. And it's just going to be a matter of getting that 1 cable ordered and plugging it in so that we have functional DVD-ROM. So hopefully that'll work, I think. It was almost too easy. I don't really understand it. But yeah, that's what I got. That's cable management. And like I said, I mean, I really wanted to kind of go a little more in depth and tell you guys how I did it, but a lot of it with this case was really just dumb luck, I think. I wasn't trying to cram too much in, which is always a big problem, especially when you're building gaming rigs and such. People always try to cram a lot of stuff into a gaming rig. And I'm guilty of it. I've done it. I've had gaming rigs with, 4, 5, 6 hard drives, 800 fans, your liquid cooling setup and everything else. And if you're going to do that, you really need to get the appropriate size case. In this case, this is just in this particular instance, let's not confuse the terms. This is just a low-end cruising PC. It's not a high-end rig. So I didn't try to pack a lot in here. 1 hard drive, 1 DVD-ROM drive, 2 sticks of RAM, a processor, and a motherboard. That's all I got. Eventually, since the case, this is the other part that confuses me about the SATA connector, the case had a 20-pin USB 3.0 connector for the USB 3.0 ports on the front of this, but the motherboard did not, which, again, I wasn't really paying attention. I kind of ordered cheaply and tried to stay on budget more than I tried to worry about which connections there are. Now, granted, it's not too big of a deal because this particular motherboard has 6 USBs in the back, 2 of which are 3.0. And the card reader, which is built into this here, and the regular USB 2.0 port here will both still continue to function. However, it's the USB 3 port here that won't function. Not a huge deal. So I've got 7 USB ports. I mean, that's sufficient, yeah, so that's really it. Just kind of take your time, be careful with things. Don't be afraid to take some screws back out, put some screws back in, move things around a little bit and try to reposition better when you're doing cable management because, man, presentation wise, it makes all the difference. You try to present a cool gaming rig to somebody and your cables are all over the dang place, never makes a good impression. So, that being said, I'm going to see if I can find my flash drive with Windows 10 on it and see if I can get this thing finished up and running tonight. So, yeah, that's all I got for you right now, guys. We'll see you soon.